Good morning. This is Bill Ellsworth. I'll be your presenter here today for the Equitable webinar. We're going to go over some new rate rollouts, introduce some competitive comparisons in our Express app process to you. A lot of you already are familiar with the Express app process, so we will get to that a little bit later in the webinar. But what we really want to talk to you about is our new rating structure for the new Medicare supplement rollout that began in about 12 to 15 states. As early as Monday of this week. So some of the states that we will go through here, we will show you that are already approved. You can start marketing and selling in, and some are still on the approval list, which will come to you a little bit later in this month or in the early parts of next month. And I think what you'll see is what we are trying to do here at Equitable is to get our Medicare supplement people back in the game. We know a lot of you guys have not had a very competitive Medicare supplement in a lot of states. Missouri was a competitive state, Michigan fairly competitive, I think Alabama was competitive, but we have product filed in over 40 states, and when you're only competitive in 2 or 3 or 4 of those, then that really doesn't help a lot of your agency or your agent's sales force. So we've done a lot of things here to make this better for our agents. That's one thing we've been very concerned about, is getting this product out there to you so that you can use the Equitable processes again, and kind of a welcome back or a welcome to the future with Equitable as a company. We've got a lot of great things planned. Also on the webinar that will chime in every now and then. I got a young man that most of you know. His name's Kevin Williams. Also, if you have questions while we're going through this webinar, you can type those in to Grishon Georges. She will answer a lot of the questions as we proceed through this, and at the end, then she will read back some that maybe she didn't have an answer for, or some that she thinks needs to be addressed as a group as a whole if it gets asked several times. So again, what we've done here is we've went back and looked at our rates. We were able to change the age rate slope, make them more competitive in the younger age groups, and we've got a lot of guys out there that work the turning 65 market, so we want to help you be able to capture that market, and then give you a competitive product in all the age groups. So it's kind of like I had a client call in, and their premium for their Mutual of Omaha was up to $270 some, going up to $270 for a male, and I don't have to be the cheapest Medicare supplement on the market out there, guys. I just have to be able to look at my rates and say, well, Calvin, here's one for $210 a month. Well, $210 compared to $270 is a great deal for him, even though maybe there was another company out there that had a $2 or $3 a month less. It's really not the issue. I want to put him with a good company, one that is good to me as an agent, and go at it at that rate. So as we go through here again, if Kevin, if you have anything to say, go ahead and chime in at any time. And if you have questions as we go through here, type them into Rashawn, and we'll try to get you in and out of here as quickly as possible. We have a lot of material to cover, so I want to go ahead and just put the map up there and show you where the states are that Equitable is licensed to market Medicare supplement insurance. And if you see, as you will see, there's a lot of states. There's only a few that we don't cover. We want you to know that in most of these states, you're going to be landing in the number 1, 2, or 3 chair with these new rates as we have refiled them and lowered them. Okay, we do offer 3 different plans, A, F, and N. Probably sometime late this year, maybe next year, we're looking at maybe introducing a very aggressive plan G, as in girl. We haven't done that, but that is on the drawing board. As the first page said, this is things now and in the future. We want to always have the choices available for our agents to make good choices for their clients. So I'll show you the competitive comparison map. Is the states that we're currently approved in will show up in green. As you can see, there are several states in the western parts, several in the midwestern part, and also several on the eastern half of the United States. We just got approved North Carolina, West Virginia, and Utah. And if I'm correct, I think North Carolina and Utah you can start selling next Monday. The rates will be posted on the agent's website at equiline.com, and you will also receive an agency directive from each state that you're in like say you're in Nebraska and say we get a directive that Nebraska is going to be approved and or has been approved, we will get a directive out to you guys and let you know when you can start selling that product in Nebraska. So got a lot of great things going on, and what we want to take a minute here to do is just kind of give you an idea of what the rates are looking like. Going to go through where all the states that are currently approved, and I want you to pay as I go through these. I'll kind of move quickly, but I want you to look at the first look at the age 65 column, and then look to the very far right at the date column. And the reason that's important is because just on this slide right here, you can see American Continental is about $2 less than we are at Equitable. But take a look at the date column. Our rates we started selling this 94.24 rate on Monday of this week. American Continental has had that 92.17 out there going on almost 2 years. Who do you think will have the rate increase first? Obviously, American Continental will be raising those rates here shortly, maybe even before June the 1st of 2011. So those are the two most important columns as we go through these, so that you can see where Equitable is, the date that it was available for sale versus the competition, and how long they've been selling at that current rate. Oklahoma, we're at $97.31 for a 65-year-old female. Again, guys, the way all these companies do this is they take the lowest rate, go by female, because female rates are always cheaper than male, and they put that out there. So we're at $97.31, and that rate again was effective Monday of this week. And as you can see, everybody else has had rate increases. The Heartland National product, good product, was very competitive in Oklahoma, still competitive in Oklahoma, and they had a rate increase that took effect January the 1st of this year. Combine got a great product out there, but they're coming up on their 1-year anniversary, so they will probably be going up also. Philadelphia American just released their rates on November of 2012. They're almost $10 a month higher than we are. So take a look at the rates, and I think you'll find when you add all the other good things that Equitable does for us as agents, like the telephonic app where we can get an instant approval, which we will talk about later, or the customer service portion of the program where you get live people answering the telephone. All of those are very important, not only to you, but to your client. If you ever had a client try to call United Healthcare, good luck. It takes about 5 minutes just to get to a live person. So anyway, let's just go ahead and go through these rates. Michigan, we're at 117. American Continental's at 117 also. But if you look at that, they are 2 years out on a rate increase, so it won't be long that we'll have a very solid hold on the top 1 or 2 spots in the state of Michigan, and should continue to have that for quite some time to come. If you look at
Bill, can I chime in here on Michigan, if you don't mind?
Sure.
Okay. In Michigan, for those folks that are online from Michigan, we sent out a field directive, and the field directive indicated there was a 5% decrease in rate. Actually, for existing business, that was a 5% increase. So that was just the only error we've ever made in our entire lifetime. But just as an FYI, look at that directive. It's a 5% change, which is still 5% is nothing in the med-sub business as far as existing business goes. Also, Bill, if you don't mind, I don't want to steal your thunder, but on the left-hand side, Bill's talking about the different companies out there, and you're going to wonder to yourself, well, how do I get that information? Now, you guys have access to it because you're the insurance company. Well, Bill and the team at the staff office have made arrangements to have this included as part of our website. So on the website, when you're going to go do a quote, there's a tab that you can click for med-sub comparison. And with that med-sub comparison, you can follow the links that get you access to the actuarial site, where you can actually compare the rates for yourself on a particular client that you want to write. So we're not looking for you to use that to market against us. We're looking to use that so you're more competitive and know exactly where you stand when you talk to your clients. So that's a great tool, and you have to pay for that, generally speaking, if you do it as an individual. So I just wanted to chime in on those couple of things in Michigan, Bill, and go from there.
Yeah, and another thing, guys, that I hadn't got to yet Michigan is also a state to where we are issuing a 7% household discount. That is approved, and you can use the household discount in the state of Michigan. The way that works is if I'll give you a couple of different examples. Say that you have an existing policyholder that's had Equitable for a year or so, and his wife is turning 65, let's say in April. You can offer the wife the 7% household discount as long as the husband also reapplies for the new rates and is medically underwritten and qualified to get those. At that point, they would both get the 7% discount, household discount. Now, if you had somebody that was turning 65 in April and his or her spouse or partner or whatever doesn't turn 65 until November, once the other partner or spouse applies in November, then the household discount will apply to both of them. They both have to have a current policy with rates effective after the 2/11 effective date to qualify for the household discount, and it is a 7% discount, and Michigan is approved. We will give you a couple of other examples when we get to the underwriting portion of what we call of the application, and we'll give you some changes to where we have made in the directives that you have received in the underwriting as it applies to diabetics. So let's go ahead and move through these rates. A lot of them out there. Alabama, as you can see, we are not quite in the #1 spot, but we're not very far from it. So again, it's Philadelphia American. It's a pretty small company. It doesn't have a lot of representation as far as agent-wise out there. I mean, they got a lot, but you know, like I said, we're not going to be in the #1 spot everywhere, but we're going to be in the #1 or 2 or 3 spots. So we're giving you a very good marketing opportunity in the state of Alabama. Delaware, Equitable coming in about 130.67 for a 65-year-old female. Again, if you look at the rates, United Healthcare is a few dollars below us, and so is Blue Cross Blue Shield. Both of those products have been out there. Blue Cross has been out there over a year. United Healthcare is coming up on their year anniversary, and we figure those rates are probably going to be going up in the near future. Iowa, getting a lot of calls from the state of Iowa. If you're listening from Iowa, you've probably received a call from a gentleman by the name of Todd Weiss in the last day or two. He has called every Equitable agent in Iowa, informing them of the new rates and opportunities that are available in the state of Iowa. And we know Continental Life had almost a 2-year run rate on that $89 is going to be going up in the very near future. United Teachers at $92.24, almost coming up on 3 years, so you know that's going to be taking a whack, and that will put Equitable in the driver's seat in Iowa for quite some time to come. So we're expecting a lot of good things about Iowa. I had an agent that I've known for 10 years that called me from Iowa yesterday, and he had got an invite to sign back up with Equitable, and he's very, very excited about the rates that he's looking at. He said we're going to get a lot of business out of Iowa with these rates. So if you're in that area, or if you do a call center platform, Iowa is a good opportunity. Illinois, this is Equitable showing their household discount at 107. You're looking at Mutual of Omaha at 109, coming up on their 1-year anniversary. American Continental is in their 1-year anniversary, so we think we're in very, very good shape and position in Illinois. New Mexico, we are $5-6 a month cheaper than the nearest competitor right there. And if you also look at their right-hand side on the date column, they're coming up on their 1-year anniversary. So again, in New Mexico, in very, very good position. Nevada, also the same thing applies. If you look at Equitable, we're at 134.34. United Healthcare coming up on their 1-year anniversary, still a little bit more competitive than us. But again, as I said earlier, we don't have to be the #1 position. We just got to make a better offer than their current carrier. So if you're sitting there with someone who is, say, 72 years old and are at $210 a month, and you come back at 174, do the telephonic app, get an instant approval, you've done a good thing for yourself and the client. So, we've got a lot of good things going on as far as opportunities in a lot of different states for our agents with Equitable. So South Dakota, another great area that has a very good rate in the state of South Dakota. As you can see, United of Omaha is at 110 and been that way for over a year. So if you've ever done business with United of Omaha, it's a great company. They've provided a lot of opportunities for a lot of different people throughout these years. But we also know that they're just like every other company. If they get enough bad health, like they did when they opened that Plan N up, that's going to cause rate increase histories to go up. So in good shape in the state of South Dakota. Kentucky. Look at my map here. Kentucky has been ready to go since the 11th. That's an approved state. You can start selling these rates in the state of Kentucky. We've put you guys in a very good opportunity in Kentucky. It's the same as in Montana. Montana's been an area to where a couple of the old dogs that used to work with Equitable, a guy by the name of Al Holman, he's ecstatic about these rates. He says, man, you guys have really went to the extra mile to help us, become a player back in the Medicare supplement field. He's seen the rates in Oregon, so he knows, even though Oregon's not approved, that it's going to be something that he can really, really do well with, and that will pop up once we get to the pending states. Tennessee, 109, the competitor of CSI. Their rates are also coming out there, so we're gonna be competing against CSI, but that's okay. There's a lot of people in Tennessee, and there's enough business out there for everybody. So add again our advantages with the telephonic app and the friendly customer service. I think you'll find Equitable's going to definitely get their share of business out of the state of Tennessee. Utah, domicile state for Equitable. As you can see, we're in very, very good shape there. That's product, if you look over on the right-hand column, 219 of 13. So that means, what that simply means is this rate will be available for marketing on the 19th day of February, which I believe is next Tuesday. So, that's a good thing. Starting Tuesday of next week, we can start offering this rate back in Utah. So we're going to be in really, really good shape in our home state. North Carolina, also 219 is when you can start marketing this product, and as you can see, Equitable's in a very, very good position and should remain that way. American Continental 9-111, so they're coming up on a year and a half with that rate. United of Omaha 8-111, they also are coming up on a year and a half of that rate. So you can see that we're in pretty darn good shape in North Carolina, and that's a really, really good state for seniors. West Virginia, we just got it approved just the other day, and as you can see, pay attention to the right-hand column over on the date side. That 10531 will not be available to sell until 225 of 13, which is about 11 days away from where we're at right now. So very shortly you'll be able to market a very competitive priced product in the state of West Virginia. Anything that you sell between now and 225 still has to use the old rates that are posted on Equiline. Again, we will get a directive out to you when you can start selling in West Virginia, and we think we're going to be in a really, really good position in West Virginia for quite some time. Colorado, now if you look, you'll see over in the right-hand column where it says proposed. That means that these are the rates that we are proposing, and they are not approved by the state departments of insurance, but as soon as those are, again, guys, we will get those out to you. Indiana, a state that we also are going to be offering the 7% household discount. We think we're getting close to having those rates approved, but we're probably looking at sometime in March before you can start marketing a product in Indiana. You still sell the old rates, but you can't sell the rate that you're looking at right now. Kansas, great rates in Kansas. As you can see, American Continental coming up on a one-year anniversary. Doesn't mean they'll raise by then, but usually after a company's had a rate out there for a year to 18 months, they have to start going to the departments of insurance and filing rate increases. They don't want to get behind the curve, and if they wait too long, then as some companies have done, you'll see more than one rate increase in 1 year. We never want that to happen with Equitable, so we have found small increases are a lot better than even if they're on a yearly basis or maybe an 18-month basis, is a lot better than waiting to get behind the curve and end up having to shoot a 20 to 25% rate increase. So in Kansas, great rates. Excuse me. Louisiana, Equitable is going to be in really, really good shape there. You're looking at about a 106.17 at an age 65-year-old female. A lot of the rates have been out there. New Era's got a good product out there, but we think we will challenge them and get a great share of business out of the state of Louisiana. Mississippi, another good state for Equitable. As you can see, we're about $7 less per month than American Continental at turning 65, and you know, we want to sure get a lot of business out of that state. Another thing we're getting out of Mississippi, if you're in Mississippi, is we're selling a lot of our hospital indemnity program down there. And if you have an interest in that in Mississippi, by all means, give myself or Kevin a shot after the end of this, and we will try to get you going down to Mississippi with that product. Nebraska, a very, very good state. Of course, you know, there's a large insurance company in Omaha. I can't think of the name of it, but has a wooden Indian labeled out there. I think it might be, oh yeah, it's Mutual of Omaha. And they got a lot of different umbrellas. They got United of Omaha. They reinsure the State Mutual product, a Family Life product, and several others out there. So they're very competitive in their home state, and it will always be a challenge. But as you can see, our rates are right there with theirs. And we think we'll get quite a bit of business out of the state of Nebraska. Ohio, huge state. I can't wait to get this thing approved in Ohio. I think that'll move the needle very rapidly as soon as we get out there. United American, or United of Omaha, or Omaha Insurance in this case, coming up on their 1-year anniversary. And so we know we're going to get a lot of good business out of the state of Ohio. Oregon, here's what I was mentioning earlier. We've had a rate there that has not been competitive for a long time, and if I go back and look at my rate sheet, Oregon is a state to let me see. Can't get my head to work here. Oregon is a state to where we reduce the rates by approximately 5%. But when I talk about states like Iowa and Tennessee and West Virginia, we lowered the rates 20%. So that's why those rates are going to be very, very good for quite some time to come. And I think you're going to find that you're going to have a lot of states out there that you're really, really going to be able to do a lot of business in. Pennsylvania. Let me go back to Oregon. Oregon is also, I just want to go back and mention it, we're not showing the household discount on here, but that also is going to be a state that qualifies for the household discount. Right now, the states that qualify for the household discount are Illinois, Michigan, and Nevada, and then as soon as Oregon is approved, it will come online also. Pennsylvania, we're looking at about 117.97. We think this is a very, very big state. We are looking for a lot of good business. If you look at age 72, we're at 153, Aetna's at 157, Medco at 156. So we're going to be really, really good shape in Pennsylvania. So if you're someone who sells in Pennsylvania or markets in Pennsylvania by the call center way, you're going to have a great opportunity there with the Equitable product. South Carolina. 105.37. Proposed rate is what it should be coming in at. Now, again, when I say proposed, guys, and when you see proposed out there, that's what the rates we have in front of the departments of insurance. We haven't had any kickback and had to change the rates on any. We've received a couple objection letters, so keep in mind these are proposed, but we don't see any roadblocks or hurdles down the road that would make us think that these rates that you're looking at aren't going to be approved. Wyoming, another good state for Equitable. They should probably be in the #1 or #2 chair in that state for quite some time to come. Be a lot of companies out there taking rate increases, and these were just, they're not even approved. So if we start selling in Equitable in Wyoming in April, that just makes us going to be that much more competitive down the road. There are the 7 states right there that offer the household discount. Again, the ones that are currently approved are Illinois, Michigan, and Nevada. And as soon as all the other states approve the rates, then the discounts will also be approved at that point. And again, we will get agency directives out to everybody as a state comes online. With that said, I want to talk to you a little bit now about what we call our Express app process. A lot of you are familiar. If you're selling Equitable's final expense, you probably have done an Express app. If you've never done an Express app, I want to take some time here today to introduce to you why I think you'd want to use the Express app. I will give you some personal selling situations of how I use it when I'm out in the sales field, or whether I am calling directly from my office. Sometimes I don't leave my chair. I can do an enrollment right over the telephone. We break down the mechanics and processes. We're going to look at this from two different venues. One would be the kitchen table. The other one would be from like a call center setting, and give you some results and what you could expect should you do this. So just a little information about myself. I've been selling for Equitable since 1989. I got in the insurance business in 1984. And the good thing that I like about Equitable is they've always been there to help me solve problems. And in this business, there's always problems. And how you get those problems resolved is, very important to me, an agent, and to my client. I had an agent in here the other day in our office, and he says, here's one good thing I like about Equitable. They're easy to do business with. Do we ever have issues? Absolutely. Do we try to fix those? Absolutely. So as a company, the Express app is something we're bringing to every agent that comes in to do business with Equitable. It's a situation to where if you will kind of think outside the box in some of these areas, and some of you already have heard this, some of you already do this, but for those of you who don't, the hardest thing for me as an agent or as a presenter is to get guys or gals to try it the very first time. And we want to make that experience as smooth as possible for you when you do it. So let's go ahead and get started on how this process works. I get asked a lot, Bill, isn't this the same thing as a drug or, a pre-qualification call, a drug screen or a pre-qualification call, or maybe even an e-app? And the answer is no, this is not either of those three situations, and especially not an e-app. If I do an e-app on Friday, or today, and by the time I get back to my office and get that to the insurance company, depending on their workload, they may or they may not get to it for a week. They may receive it, but they may not start underwriting it in a fully underwritten situation for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days. By the time you get the policy back or a decision, 2 weeks may have went by. What I'm telling you guys is, by the time you hang up, if I was doing an Express app right now, it would take me about 25 minutes to go completely through that process. And at the end of that 25-minute process, I've got an answer. I know whether it's approved or declined. I have a policy number, and I will give you some examples here as we go on through this. The total application, it's completed in full over the phone. You have to sell the policy while you're in the house or over the phone, but when you get done, you have a complete policy number, policy issued, effective date, and everything right there over the telephone. Now here's something that I'll bet none of you have ever done. I know I sure haven't, and that's make a mistake on an application. This is a mistake-free process. There are no mistakes because the underwriter can't move from screen A to screen B to screen C until she has the whole thing completely filled out. I mean, it'll default. It won't let her move. So should she forget something, she's stuck right there. She can't go any farther. And they have a complete screen that pops up in front of them. They fill it all out neatly, and a copy of that application is accompanied the policy when it's mailed out. Now, I think that's important when it comes to not making mistakes. So I was just kidding you. I have made a few mistakes in 20-some years. Matter of fact, I made a lot. So another good thing is there's really not a whole lot of paper involved in an Express app process. The only thing that you're going to be required is a replacement form or a guarantee issue form. Now I'll explain those as I go through the process and just so we can get moving here because we've got a lot more material to cover, and I want to try and get you back out to work so you can close up your week here. What you'll find is the application is fully underwritten. We're looking at about a 94 to 96% issue rate, and it's a 15-minute process start to finish when you're doing guaranteed issue or open enrollment. Stop and think about that. 15 minutes, got a policy issued, got a policy number in my hand, and I can move on to my next opportunity. Now, the 15-minute process, folks, is only if you're doing open enrollment or guarantee issue, because that eliminates a lot of the processes like the underwriting of the health questions, the verifications of any of the medications they're taking. So if you're doing a fully underwritten app, you can expect anywhere from 20 to 23 minutes, I think, is the average time. And of course, if there could be things that affect that, if you got somebody's taking 7 or 8 medicines versus somebody taking 1, it's going to take a few more minutes for the underwriter to ask those questions. You may have a client that's not real good on the phone. That may slow it down. But the average time is 20 to 23 minutes. So, folks, what I'm telling you, this is about as close to an instant issue Medicare supplement as you're ever going to get. Some of the things that I like are the immediate results. There's no guessing of whether that policy is issued or declined. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever written a policy, say you wrote it the last of January, and you got the phone call or the email or the letter saying, hey, Bill, your policy was declined? So that opens a couple of challenges for us as agents. We, number one, have to call that client back, give them the bad news that they were declined, but let them know the good news that you got a couple of other opportunities. And I'll bet you've heard things like, well, you know what, Bill, I got a little nervous. I hadn't heard back from the company. I just went ahead and paid my other premium. Or I got declined with the first company. I'll probably get declined with the next company. I think I'm just going to stay right where I'm at. So stop and think about that. You're in a home. You call the underwriting department. You do the Express app, and you do get that decline. At that point, you can stop. You don't have to worry about driving back, so you don't have to worry about spending more money. You don't have to worry about whether they're going to let you back and give them another opportunity. You can just switch gears right there and say, well, Ms. Jones, you know what? It doesn't look like we're going to qualify through the underwriting department. Let's take a look at AARP. They're very competitive in some states. Let's take a look at them, and they're a lot more liberal in their underwriting, and maybe go that route. So it's a lot easier when you get an immediate yes or no, knowing what your path is going to be from that point on. So we think that gives you a better, quicker result for your client. It gives you a lot more flexibility, because if you do get declined, you can just stay right there and go from A to B. Now, let me tell you another huge area to where I think a lot of folks miss an opportunity with the Express app. Let's say that we are coming in on the end of the month, and it's like the 26th or 7th day of February, and you're sitting there with a man and a woman who is facing a 25% rate increase from XYZ company, and one of their concerns is they know they're going to have to pay that rate increase for the following month. Because if you don't have the ability to do what we're showing you here today, so you're selling for another company, and you've got to take a paper application, you've got to take it back to your office, process it, send it off to the insurance company. Guess what? Next week there's a holiday, so that most companies are going to be closed. So there's a day that's not going to get processed. By the time the insurance company works it into their workload, 2 weeks have going to have passed. And that client is going to have to pay that rate increase that's going to take effect in March. I used this closing situation with a lady, it's been 6 months ago. She had family life, and she was going from 210 to 290. And I said to her, I don't remember her name, but for this example, I'll just use a fictitious name. Say I called her Miss Jones. I said, well, Miss Jones, let me ask you a question. If I could go ahead and find out right here, right now, whether you're approved, would that help ease your mind and make your decision? She said, if you can do that, I'll just go ahead and switch right now. So what I did is I called the underwriting department. I did this as a three-way call. I was here in Blue Springs. She was, I believe, in Indiana, and we got the underwriting department on the phone. So she was listening to the whole conversation. She got to hear the underwriter say, you know, Bill, you can go ahead and proceed. She is approved. Do you want her policy number? I said, yes, I do. And once the underwriter dropped off the call, then I had her say, I told her, I said, grab your family life card, turn it over on the back, get the toll-free number, let's call them and cancel that policy right now so that you don't have to pay this rate increase at the beginning of the next month. Think how much of an advantage that gave me, because I wouldn't have got the sale otherwise, but think how much advantage that not only gives me, but all of our sales force out there at the end of the month when we know people are going to get a big rate increase, or that you just want to get them, you want to save them money over what they're currently paying. At the end of the month, you got a huge selling advantage by using this process. So that's just one area to where I think it really, really helps our agents. It also will help you create a business model over the phone. I would say that works extremely well for people who do call center settings, and that gives you, the agent, a lot better return on your time. Talk a little bit about your pay. I think that's kind of important to a lot of the guys listening and gals listening. What next day pay means is once we draft a premium, we are going to draft that, once the policy is approved, in the next couple of days we will draft a premium. Once that premium clears the bank, then the commission goes out on a regular basis. And so we get agents paid very quickly. Another area that we have got a lot of feedback in is guys that have an existing block of business that really, really helps them defend that block of business, and they can go ahead, like if they know, say they're a company that they've sold a lot of business on is taking a 15-20% rate increase. A lot of those people are going to get antsy and want to move, so it lets you, the agent, call them quickly and get that set up to where you can get an instant approval. So with that said, let's talk about the two different selling platforms. First off is kitchen table selling and remote selling. The kitchen table is what I started with back in 1984. Of course, if you remember right, probably wasn't a lot of cell phones back in 1984. But the kitchen table selling is what, anybody that gets into this business, that's one of the first things your trainer tries to tell you is once you have established that you're going to go from the door to inside the home, move to the kitchen table, because that's where business transpires. That's where a lot of people fill out their monthly bills, so we want to get there. I've been to a couple kitchen tables. I wish I'd never got there, but on an average, not too bad. So first off, you're going to drive to that appointment. You're going to make the sale while you're in the home. I'm going to buzz through these real quick and then come back and go through them. You're going to pick up the telephone and call the Equitable tele underwriting number. That's 866-551-1781. By the way, if you don't have all of Equitable's contact information or a contact sheet, you can email that request to Grishon while we are going through this, and she will see to it that you get it. And once you call the underwriting department, the application is completed in full. I mean, completely completed in full. And the policy will be issued, and you're on your way to the next opportunity or the next selling opportunity that you have set up. So let's go back through and break those down. We call the underwriting hotline 866-555. I'll get it right here in a minute, 551-1781. And the first thing that's going to happen is you're going to have to complete the agent process. Now, there's several things that the underwriter will ask from you, the agent. Number one, she's going to verify the following information: that you're appointed with Equitable and licensed to sell in that state. You want to make sure all your licenses are current and up to date. Not a real big issue if you're selling in your domicile state and doing kitchen table selling, but it's very important for call center settings to where you might be selling in Texas and calling in Iowa. So we've got to make sure that all licenses are up to date. They're going to ask you your client's name. They're going to ask you the effective date that you want. They'll also ask you what plan are you selling, F or N or Plan A. Generally it's a Plan F or an N. They're going to ask you what bank draft date are you wanting to establish. Do you want the policy sent to you or the client? And also on the Equitable app, there is one place that they ask, do you want the claims paid to the client or the provider? I will tell you, I always select the provider. I want that money going directly to the provider. I don't want the provider having to call back and bill the client for that service. They'll want to know if you want the client sent to you or the client. I always want the client or the policy to come to me. That gives me a chance to reach out and talk to my client one more time and see if she has any questions or anything like that, and basically just get my name in front of them again. That's how I do it. You certainly are able to do it however you choose. The city and state the application is taken in, the name of the carrier that you're replacing, and on page 2 of the Equitable application there is a section called General Information, which is considered the important statements to be read to the applicant. Basically what they're asking there, guys, is you do not need more than one Medicare supplement. Have you disclosed that to the client? If you purchase this policy, you may want to evaluate your existing coverage. And then it describes the different scenarios should your client become eligible for Medicaid. Now they won't read all that, but they will ask you if you have went through that with the client, which we are required to do in the sales field. So make sure that the client is aware of that, because they'll probably ask them also, and just make sure that you say yes and that you do that. Okay, once that process is complete, the agent's process complete, they'll say, okay, Bill, you can hand the phone over to the client. Once that client gets on the telephone, a lot of the application is going to be asked at that time. The underwriter is going to go over all the basic information which you'll find on page 1 of the application, which is a social security number, their full name, their date of birth, their height and their weight, their address, complete address, male, of course they're going to know male or female, so they'll fill that in, and the city and state in which that application is taken in, and the telephone number. So they're filled out the complete information in section 1, and make sure there are no mistakes on that. I mean, if they'll get the complete spelling of their name, so it's a very, very nice little process. Then they're going to move on to the second portion of the application, and that is the section to where we as agents always have to verify, did they turn 65 in the last 6 months? Their coverage dates, is how it applies to Medicare Part B. Did they turn 65 in the last 6 months? Do they have the effective dates of their Medicare A and B? So got a little cheat sheet that we will go over here at the end. It's not a cheat sheet to help you get the policy issued underwriting-wise. It's a cheat sheet to make sure you and your client are prepared and that the process runs smoothly. Okay. They're going to ask things like the Medicaid portion of the application. Do they have another policy in force? If so, the name of the company and the paid to date. Basically, anything you see in Part 3 of the application located on Part 2. Or on page 2, I'm sorry. And then once that is completed, they're going to move to the health portion of the application. The underwriter is going to read a very condensed version that's been approved by the Departments of Insurance, the condensed version of the HIPAA statement. If you've seen a lot of HIPAA statements, they can cover a full 8 by 11 sheet of paper. We have this reduced down to the important part of it, and it's approved, and it's a very quick statement. Once they read the HIPAA statement, they will start through the health questions. And guys, gals, when I come to the health questions, I have already prepared my client for the health questions and how they're going to be asked. First off, I go through them with the client. I want to know, is this a person that's going to qualify for my product? So I'm going to have read all the health questions to them. You guys know how seniors answer health questions when you sit down and talk to them. Have you been in a hospital more than 2 times in the last year? They're going to start giving you information. Yeah, I was in St. Luke's. I had cataract surgery. You and I both know that's a outpatient surgery. So as I go through the health questions with my client when I'm kitchen table selling, I tell them, now when the underwriter gets on the phone, she will tell you that they ask all these questions of all applicants, and they are yes, no questions. You don't need to ad lib on any question unless the underwriter asks you for more information. So when she says in the past 2 years, have you been hospitalized more than 2 times? That's a yes or no answer. So I need you to answer yes or no. Now, I want to stop right here and cover the application. If you've got an Equitable application laying around anywhere, I should have told you this at the beginning of the webinar, but you can always look at the medical information section, and it says agent use only on it. It's on page, once you went through the app, it's actually located on page 1. So the underwriting that we have done, and you have seen in the directives, is we've given you guys a lot more opportunity. Now, we haven't changed the app yet because that would have meant refiling and slowing the release of this project out or down. So when you come down to after you go through the first 5 questions, question number 6 says additional questions, check yes or no to each question. Have you been diagnosed or treated for diabetes? And in parentheses on that application, it says that includes diet control, oral medication, and treatment with insulin. So in the past, what we're telling you folks is, in the past, if you ask that question, they say, yeah, I'm diabetic and I control it by my diet, or maybe I take glucophage or metformin or something like that to control it. No insulin. In the past, if they would answer yes to the diet control or oral medication, we would immediately have to quote them the standard rate, which is quite a bit higher than the ultimate rate. So what we've done, guys, gals, is we have now put out in a directive, which you should have, it'll be in any new agents kit also, so if you got agents that you're hiring, that they will be aware of diet control medication, diet controlled diabetics, or medication, oral medication diabetics now will qualify for preferred rates as long as their diabetes is controlled. So that gives us a huge selling opportunity. Let me give you an example. Let's say you're sitting there with a man and a woman, and you've already went through the product, they like the product, and you're pricing it out, only to find out that one of these 2 people is a diabetic. And that's going to throw them into the standard rate because they are taking metformin for their diabetes. Not taking insulin, but they're taking metformin. Well, now one rate's went way up, and the other rate has got the ultimate rate. So in the past, that has really killed a lot of sales. You know, we get feedback from agents say, you know what, I could have sold this husband and wife, but when I quoted the standard premium for the diabetic, it just blew my whole sale completely up. So what we've done is we have eliminated the diet control and the oral medication diabetics. They now will control for the ultimate rate, and we think that's going to help you guys out there make more money. And that's what our job is to help you be able to help the client get a good rate, and then you make a decent commission for that. So if you have any questions, email those to Rashawn. We'll talk about them again at the end of the webinar, and Kevin and I will address those questions as they come forward. Question number 7 also says, do you have a mental illness such as anxiety or depression that requires psychiatric care? That would throw them into the standard rating. So we think we have loosened up the underwriting some on the diabetic session that will allow you to place more business with us. At that point, once the health questions are done, we will ask for permission to do the prescription drug check for their medicines. And once we have that, we do the drug check through Milliman script check. Once that pans out, we get the primary care doctors at name and address. While we're asking those questions, we're verifying the drugs. And once we have that done, we are at that point going to be able to move to the payment information. And this is one thing that I think that you guys will find that Equitable is extremely very good at. They will guide your client to the information on the bank routing numbers, locating their account numbers, and so they're going to verify the bank draft date. They're going to verify the exact premium. Make sure when you're quoting premium, you know, most of these states now have more than one zip code rating. Very important that when you quote the price that you're in a correct zip code. You don't want to get egg on your face when the underwriter screen automatically fills in at 110 and you've quoted, or at 130 and you quoted them 110. Just make sure you're in the right zip code and you won't have any problems with that. So once we get the exact premium verified, they're going to get the bank routing number. They're really, really good at guiding your client down to the lower left-hand corner, and there's a 9-digit number there that we need. They also can help them locate the account number. Once we verify the bank routing number, the underwriter will read back to your insured, say, Ms. Jones, you're banking at Bank of the West, is that correct? Because that bank number, once that routing number is keyed in, it automatically fills in the name of the bank. So that's pretty good for your client, because they now know I got my bank number, they know what bank I'm at, and everything runs real smooth. At that point, we are going to select and re-verify a draft date, and then they are going to ask your client is it okay for us to do a voice verification as an authorization for a verbal signature. So they're going to record that signature on the application, and at that point they're going to say, okay, Ms. Jones, go ahead and hand the phone back to your agent, and when you come back on the phone, we will give you formal approval, assuming that the policy was approved. They'll verify the effective date and the draft date with you, and most important, they assign you a policy number. Now, if I'm using the client's phone and they have a speaker phone on it, when the phone comes back to me, I hit the speaker button. If they don't have a speaker button on their phone, I always use my smartphone on there. It's got a speaker button on it, and at that point, I hit that speaker button because I want them to hear with their own ears that yes, the policy is approved. Here is your effective date that was discussed, and here is your policy number. So it's very, very effective of eliminating buyer's remorse, because the client doesn't have to wonder now, am I going to be approved? I just heard the underwriter say, it is approved. I heard the underwriter say, here is your policy number, and here is your effective date. So guys, gals, that really, really is a big issue of eliminating buyer's remorse. So at that point, once the underwriter drops off the phone, the policy will be issued, and that sale will be complete. I want to back up and cover one thing that when we were talking about the payment information. Once the underwriter establishes the correct premium with your insured, she will say to your insured, Ms. Jones, we're going to draft that amount within the next couple of days. Is that okay with you? So she's telling the insured, we're going to draft you in a couple of days, and are you okay with that? Sometimes the insured will say, that may run me a little short this week. Can you wait and draft, say, the second day of the next month? She will do that, and that helps to eliminate double drafting or overdrafting of your client if we don't discuss that with them. So again, these are very important things that the underwriters are trained to do to make sure that we don't have any problems going forward with the drafting of the premium. Okay, so the policy is issued, sales complete, and you are off to your next opportunity. Now, I'm going to buzz right through this next portion. There's 4 steps here. They're a lot like the kitchen table selling, but as you can see, there's a picture of Kevin Williams up there in the upper left-hand corner. That's how he always does these remote sales. He gets up, takes his shower, puts on his shirt and tie, and I'm sure that's what everybody else does when they do call center sales. Anyway, the big deal with a remote sale is you're just not there. You're doing a 3-way telephone call. You sell the policy over the phone. Once that is established, and very important that you sell the policy over the phone and the policyholder understands it, the underwriter will not sell the policy for you. You got to make sure that your insured is aware of the process and the plan that they're getting. If they start asking 4 or 5, 6 questions about how the benefits of the policy work, the underwriter's going to probably stop the interview, ask the client to hand the phone back to you, and or just, she'll say to you, here's what you need to cover with the client and call me back. Should that ever happen? It's never happened to me. I've been doing it for 4 years, but if it does happen, when you call back, you don't have to start over. Like say that you were into the payment portion of the question, and all of a sudden the client just starts asking a bunch of questions on how the policy works. You don't have to worry about starting from the very beginning. Whenever that call comes back in the next few minutes, they'll pick up right where they left off. The application, again, completed over the phone, and you're off to your next opportunity. Now, the process is the same as the kitchen table selling. You do a 3-way phone call, and then at that point, you get to stay on the phone the entire call. I think even if you're a kitchen table guy and you always go out and see everybody, I think it's important at some point that you try a 3-way call for the simple reason you get to hear how good the underwriters are on the phone with your client. So that's just my preference. I'm not telling you have to do that. I just think it's a good educational deal. Again, the better we can be at recognizing how this process works, the better we are at doing it when we have a client on the phone. So you're on the phone the entire call. Most important thing for you is you got to be quiet. You cannot coach the client. They definitely are very good at recognizing coaching. So again, make sure you sell that policy before you call the tele-underwriting department, and then they will go through the exact same processes as we talked before, the certain steps of the personal information, the Medicare information, the Medicaid information, the health portion of the application, the premium payment, everything's the same from that point forward once you do your portion and the client does theirs. So again, make sure the sale is made before you call. As a company, Equitable has been supporting this process for about 3 to 4 years now, so they definitely are all in. They have hired additional tele-underwriters, but let me just give you a situation that can come up and has. Just like with anything, the underwriting department may be sitting there and get 2 or 3 calls in an hour's time, and then the next hour comes around, they may get 50. So there can be times to where the waiting time is more than you, the agent, are going to be happy with. If you ever are on hold for more than 3 or 4 minutes or 5, waiting for a tele-underwriter to come online, because maybe if we're getting slammed by business, that doesn't happen a lot, but it does. And I'll ask Kevin to chime in here in just a minute. You can leave a message while you're on hold, or and have them call back at a different time, because I think it says if you'd like to leave a message for a callback time, you can do that. So once you hear that, you leave that message and say, hey, this is Bill Ellsworth, my agent number's so, and I'm sitting here with Bob and Mary Jones. Their telephone number is whatever it is. They are applying for an Equitable Plan F. They've got to leave. They're going to be gone. Can you call them back at, say, 10 o'clock Tuesday afternoon? Am I correct on that, Kevin? Did I say that about right?
No, you're exactly right on that. And that's a good thing to do, because I know we've had some situations where you're going to call up and you might be on hold for 6 or 7 or 8 minutes. As Bill suggests, I wouldn't do that. I would be on hold because your client's got things to do. You have things to do. Just take the information down, call up and leave a message with our underwriters, or just say, hey, call Bill tomorrow at 10 o'clock, and we'll call tomorrow at 10 o'clock. And pretty much follow the same procedure that Bill has been talking about for the last few minutes on the tele-underwriting. Another thing that you can do is when you make that sale, if you don't want to pick up the phone and call at that time, because every one of our MedSup policies, except for the open enrollment cases, need to have a phone call. You need to have that phone underwriting the medical questions to ask. You can just tell your client, we're just going to call, you're going to take the information down, you're going to talk to the underwriting department, and somebody from the underwriting department will call you back, and then find out what's the time to call, and then we'll call back. So there's several ways you can do it, so it's not to inconvenience your client and possibly jeopardize the sale, and also make better use of your time. So those are good points, Bill.
Okay, so guys, what we want to just say is if you get good at this process, you can save a lot of time, gas, and money. I just looked at the gas in Kansas City. We're moving up to the 350-gallon range again. So if you're out there running up down the highway 4 or 5 days a week, putting 400 or 500 miles on your vehicle, you can spend a lot of money in gas. And if you get good at this Express app process, you can eliminate a lot of that, and which will add a little bit more money at the bottom line at the end of the year, which Uncle Sam will be glad, because he can charge you more tax money. This cheat sheet that I was referring to earlier, just make sure that you have a good client on the phone that they can hear. If they can't hear real well, let the underwriter know that up front, so that they will be attuned to that. Maybe the client has a hearing problem. And also, as I said earlier, one of the hardest things for me as a presenter when I'm talking to you guys is to get you to try this for the first time. It's very intimidating when you do it the first time. I'm here to tell you, it was for me, and I was the guinea pig for the program. So, you don't have to do this. We're just offering it to you as a way to help you make more money and better use of your time. But if it is your very first interview, let the underwriter know that right up front. If you get Jose on the phone, say, hey, Jose, this is Bill Ellsworth. This is my very first Express app that I've done. So, kind of be gentle with me here and just remember this is my first time, and I'll get better the second time and third time. So, you know, let the underwriter know that you're a little bit, you know, nervous about the situation. It's very, very intimidating when we do something new for the very first time, and we want to make sure we don't make mistakes, and we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. So here's the cheat sheet. Always have your client prepared to have the following things in front of them, and I think you can figure out why. If they, you know, we're going to ask their social security number at the beginning of the interview, and at the end of the interview, we're going to ask them to re-verify that social security number. Well, every time we ask one of these questions, like a social security number, a Medicare number, a banking information, if your client doesn't have that readily available right there in front of them, and they have to get up, go get it every time we ask a question, then that's going to leave a bad taste in your mouth, and it's definitely not going to be good for your client. So what I always do is, before I call the underwriting department, I make sure they got their medications. I make sure they know their doctor's name, telephone number. I make sure that they have not a void check, but a check where they can read their banking information, because the only way we can do the Express app is on a bank draft situation, whether it be monthly, quarterly, semi-annual, or annual, but it's got to be a bank draft situation. If they have to get up and go get their Social Security number, if they have to get up and go get their Medicare number, all that slows the process down, and it makes it harder on you, the agent. So make sure they have all of these things in front of them. We definitely can email you this cheat sheet. We get a lot of requests for that, so the agents can be prepared. We also have this whole presentation on PDF form. We can email it to you should you want it. The replacement form over on the right-hand side, a couple of different ways that I want to cover with you as far as replacement goes. If you, first off, we'll cover the kitchen table selling on how we handle the replacement form. That's always the easiest. Once and this is in a fully underwritten situation. Remember, if you're doing open enrollment or guarantee issue, we do not need the replacement form, but if you're doing a fully underwritten case, we have to have it. So if you're at the kitchen table, once we read you the policy number and get that established, simply write that on the replacement form, and then you can fax it to the number in front of you, 888-352-5126. There's an upload feature on the Equiline on the agent's website. You can upload it to the underwriting department, or you can mail it. Either way, but we do have to have it. So it's very easy in kitchen table selling. A little bit different if you're doing a three-way call or a call center situation. So here's why I always like the policy mailed to me when I'm doing, especially when I'm doing a remote or the three-way calling situation where I'm in Kansas City, the client's in Columbia, and the underwriting department's in Utah. So if I have that policy mailed directly to me, when I get the policy and the replacement form is required, it's stapled to an envelope. And there's a little note in there that says I need to get that signed. So it's very easy for me at that point, before I mail that policy to the client, for me to sign it and date it and highlight where the applicant needs to sign it, or put an X in her signature line. And then I pick up the phone and I say, Miss Jones, you know, got your policy back. Everything's just like we applied for. I do need you to sign the replacement form and mail it back in the postage paid envelope that's included. So if you could do that for me, that would be great. Now, that's if we mail the policy to you, the agent. However, it's our procedure that if the only requirement needed is the replacement form and you, the agent, have requested the policy be mailed directly to the insured, we will do that. We will mail the policy to the insured. At that point, we are going to mail or email a notice and the form to you, the agent. It's going to be up to you to sign that and then get the insured's signature on it and then return it to us. The file will be conditionally issued until we receive that form, and again, it's up to you to get it to us. And you know, you got to at that point sign it, date it, call the client, tell them you're mailing it to them, and then have them either or mail it back to you for your records if you want to copy it, or mail it directly to the insured. Now the bad thing about that is when we do that, you've got to send it to the client, and then you got to depend on the client to get it to the insurance company. We give you about 14 days to complete the process. If we don't get it within then, they're going to send out follow-ups. So that's the difference in the replacement forms, and that's again why I like the policy to be mailed directly to me instead of directly to the client. Again, that's my preference. You can do it however you choose to do it and what works best for you and your operation. Remember, no coaching, and everything will go smooth. So to review what we've talked about here today, policy is issued over the phone, your coverage is vested, the policy number is established, you save time, money, gas. Guys, gals, we have heard people say, well, do I have to do this? Absolutely not. We only get about 30% of the business coming through the door on the Express app. We would love to see that at the 50% range, but even at those numbers, that would mean 50% are still coming through on paper applications. Some people are just happy using paper applications, and by all means, if that's what you like to do, go ahead and do it. We are just trying to provide you different opportunities to where you can make better use of your time and money, and giving you selling opportunities, like especially at the end of the month. This is a great process to use at the end of the month. You can, the good thing is however you choose to do it, if you do the Express app, that application is right in the policy. Every page of the application is included in the policy, stapled to the policy. So next day pay, once we draft premium, we're going to get you paid very rapidly. You can see by approving the policy on the same day, that's definitely got to speed up your commission payments, especially if we draft within the next couple of days, and we don't have to wait a while to do that draft. Most of everything we've talked about is going to be live on Equiline.com, where you can get on there and check rates of all the states that have been approved. You can't check the rates on the pending states because we can't put those out there until we have formal approval from the various departments of insurance. But once we get the approval from them, we get the directives out and get them posted as soon as we can. Okay, again, there are the states in which we are filing these rate reductions. Not every state on there is getting a rate reduction, but most of them are. There are the tele-underwriting hours, Monday through Thursday. We have a 12-hour window regardless of the time zone in which you are in. On Fridays, we are looking at an 11-hour time zone. And again, if you're out selling on Saturdays, you can still request the underwriting department to call your client back at a specified time. Just make sure you leave your name, agent number. Very important that you put your agent number. All calls that don't have an agent number, I'll just have them put my number on there, and then I'll call and say thank you. That's a joke. I'm not really going to do that. So anyway, got a great window for call center underwriting hours, and the Equitable information. Most of you already have been with Equitable for a while. You know where they are at. They're in Salt Lake City, Utah. I am speaking to you from the lower right-hand corner on 1600 Northeast Coronado Drive in Blue Springs, Missouri. And my name, again, is Bill Ellsworth. Kevin is the National Sales Director for this new adventure. He does a great job. Cindy is also in the licensing department. Glenda Pratt with supplies, and Amy also will help with supplies. Our telephone number, 800-352-5121, and you can reach us on the web at www.equiline.com. So with that said, I'm going to be quiet for a little while and bring Rashawn Georges on here, and she's going to kind of go over questions, and Kevin and I will try to answer those and then get you back to work.
Okay. The first question I had, which you may have covered this, they would like to know the rates that were quoted at the beginning of the webinar. Were those plans A, F, or N?
They were Plan F.
Okay. The second question I do have is regarding rates. They have questions on how they can get the rates for the states that you spoke about.
If you are licensed and appointed with Equitable, the approved states that we showed on the map, and let me just kind of run through those real quick with you. The approved states are Nevada, Montana, New Mexico, South Dakota, Oklahoma, Iowa, Illinois, Kentucky, Tennessee, Alabama, Virginia, West Virginia, Utah, and somebody else just came on last night. Who was it, Kevin?
Oh, God, wasn't that West Virginia?
Might have been West Virginia. I believe it was. Now, the states that you won't find on the web, if you remember when we were going through the slides, if they had a 2/11 effective date or a proposed or a 2/11/13 date on them, all of those rates are currently live on Equiline.com. The ones that are approved, and you've seen the 2/19 or 2/25, once that date rolls around, those will be on the website. So you can get those. I think that would have been Utah, West Virginia, and who else, Kevin?
North Carolina.
North Carolina, that's correct. So those will be, North Carolina and Utah will be available on the 19th, and West Virginia will be available on the 25th, I believe, if I can go back through those slides. So as state comes approved, you'll get a directive, and at that point you can, once that directive is, it'll tell you when those rates are going to be live. You can then get on the website and do that. If you can't get on the website, or if you're having a problem getting on the website and you're in one of the approved states and you need those, send Kevin or myself an email. Probably better if you send it to Kevin, because I got to leave for the rest of the day here shortly. You send it to him today, and or you can send it to Cindy also. She would get to those, but your best bet is to send it to Kevin today, and he'll get those rates to you. Next question.
The last question I have is they want to know how they can get a copy of the presentation.
Well, why don't you just handle that?
I was going to let them know that they can either email either one of you or even call the 800 number, and they'll be more than happy to get them a copy of the presentation. And we did record this one, so it will be on equiline.com.
Fantastic. All right, guys, gals, I don't have anything else. If there's no more questions, I'm going to say goodbye. And if you do need us, our job here is to help your life become more easy. And if we can do anything to help you, by all means, get a hold of us, and we will do that. So thank you for joining us, and we will talk to you soon. Thank you. Bye.